Hello GDQ, I'm Nerd Squared. This will be my submission of Pokemon Shining Pearl with the any percent category for SGDQ 2022. One thing I want to note before I really get into the meat of this run, if we go to the home menu here and look at the version number, you can see that it's version 1.1.1. That is very important to note because in the later versions of this game, including the current patch, which I believe is 1.2.0 right now, um, they patched out all the glitches that you'll see me use in this run. So this run is only possible on version 1.1.1. So we have to play on this specific patch for the run, which is admittedly a little tricky to set up unless you have custom firmware. But I have my own copy of the game that I didn't update past version 1.1.1, so for an actual performance of this at the marathon, I'd be using my personal Switch. Just wanted to mention that beforehand. As well, this run is a little technically dense because this run is a little complicated in that there's a lot of things that happen in a very short amount of time throughout basically the rest of the run past the 5-minute mark. So for an actual marathon performance of this, I'd have couch commentators explaining things while I zero in on the run. But for the purposes of this submission, I'll try to explain the glitches as they happen as best as I can. So with that, we can go ahead and get going. Time for this run starts when I select yes on the language prompt here. So, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. So this is Shining Pearl. This is a remake of the 4th generation of Pokemon games, which are Diamond and Pearl. Probably the first thing I can talk about here is text smashing, because it's a big part of a lot of Pokemon runs. Text in this game is awful, because with this game in particular, I get the name in there, with this game in particular, out of the whole series, for whatever reason, the text scrolls really strangely compared to every other Pokemon game. So in order to get the text to scroll fast, especially for really optimal high-level runs, you have to employ really odd mashing techniques, which most of the time end up hurting your hands, as you might imagine, because you have to go really hard on the buttons to get the text to scroll fast. But thankfully, runs on this game allow using turbo controllers, which is really nice. So I'm gonna set a couple of options here really quick. These settings are pretty typical for Pokemon speedruns across the board, and I'll go ahead and explain them. So I set the text speed to fast, so that the text scrolls as fast as possible, and then I turned off battle animations so that the game doesn't play an animation anytime my Pokemon or the opponent's Pokemon uses a move. Also, in that little menu I just did, I would normally turn the music volume all the way down to 0, because by doing that, you skip jingles in the game that you would normally get when picking up items like a key item or a gym badge. But for this submission and for the actual marathon performance, I've elected to keep the music off. Just because of, or keep the music on, I mean. Just because if I kept the music off, which is the normal strat for runs, most of the run would be awkward silence with the occasional sound effect here and there, which I imagine would not be very entertaining, so I'm gonna keep the music on, just for the sake of the enjoyment of the run. So this intro is pretty straightforward. We're just going up here to get our starter. There's some minor optimizations I'm doing though, like this movement path I just took up to our rival, who we currently have named 1. And also some movement optimizations going up to the lake here, which is where we're going to get our starter. So while we're in there's a few cutscenes at the lake here, so I'll take that time to explain the main glitch of the run. Because as I mentioned at the start, this game gets pretty complicated, in this run at least, around the 5-minute mark. So, the glitch that we use in this run is menu storage. What happens with menu storage is that if you do 2 rapid fire inputs of the confirm button, which is either ZL, ZR, or A, one after another, while in the Pokemon summary screen of the menu, you can duplicate the menu. And what that essentially means is you can have a menu up while you have control of your trainer character by essentially tricking the game into thinking you have a menu up, even though you clearly don't have a menu up, even though you clearly do have a menu up, as you'll see when we get there. And that's really the reason we're able to break this game so bad in the run, because with this overlaid menu, you can break out of practically anything, like cutscenes, animations, or dialogue with NPCs. And you'll see that to great effect once we get to our mom's house in a second. We're going to go through some cutscenes here after defeating that Starly, and then we're going to do the menu glitch to break out of the animation that plays when we enter the door to our mom's house. So that'll be coming up pretty soon, but we have some cutscenes to go through. That fight that I just did with the Starly is a little RNG, because how fast that fight goes varies depending on your Turtwig's stats as well as the what the Starly does. If you have particularly bad attack and the Starly chooses to use Growl, it can be as high as a 4-turn fight, which is not the greatest. And for a really optimal run with how optimized this category is, you pretty much can only take Starly fights that take 2 turns. It's just the nature of the beast with this category nowadays. Okay, so I'm going to do the cutscene here with our mom, and then I'll do the menu glitch and then explain it afterwards. But first we're going to get the running shoes. Very helpful for going fast. So like I said, I'll do the menu glitch and then I'll explain it afterwards, because it does involve a pretty particular timing. If I do mess it up though, we get an autosave right there. So I'll do 2 menu storages right there. Cool. So that trick is called door storage. I did 2 instances of menu storage there. I canceled out the first instance while I was in the animation of entering the door to mom's house. When you're in a cutscene or animation, in that case opening a door, the game freezes the world temporarily. But by breaking out of the cutscene there, we've frozen the cutscene. So encounters don't happen, and as you can see, and NPCs don't have vision. So we can go through Route 202 there and completely avoid all the trainers, avoid the catching tutorial and the Pokédex tutorial, which unfortunately means we won't be able to nickname our starter for this run, but it's okay. And we can just go straight to Jubilife, and that's a pretty big time save already, because in a glitchless run I think you'd be here around the 13-minute mark. So we're going to Jubilife because for some more menu storage tricks that we'll be doing later, I'll need an old rod from a fisherman in a building coming up, and that building is in this city, so I have to go to Jubilife. Jubilife here is also a hub for a lot of the glitches that we'll be doing in this midsection of the run. So coming up is going to be a bit of a complex menu string in order to set up for a trick called Legitate. Because for a late game out of bounds we're going to do shortly, we need to get a lot of height, and the Legitate trick, which you'll see in a bit, allows us to do that. It's essentially going to involve a text storage using menu storage with a pretty precise setup. So I'll do a storage there. I'm going to duplicate the old rod from that one old rod that I just got, because I need this cross menu to show up for some more menu storage shenanigans later. And I'm going to layer a few menus here. I'm going to do key item menu, regular menu, and another regular menu. This is a setup for that text storage I was talking about, because there's this NPC to my left here. When you talk to her, she brings up this text box that says, hey, the GWS isn't ready yet. And to get Legitate, I'm going to cancel this text box as soon as I go over a ledge on this route, and it's a very particular timing. If I do mess it up though, I do have a pretty easy backup. Alright, so if I mess it up, we'll just go ahead and do the backup. Yep, there we go. So the backup there is just to break out of that cutscene with our rival if you get caught there, and we can just continue on with the run as normal. So yeah, now I got Legitate and I have all this height, and I'm going to do another menu storage setup. It's pretty simple though, we just do one regular menu and then another storage, and then we're on our way. Okay, so I'm going to go out of bounds right there off of those trees. Now I have to follow this very particular route to get through this void here. Because to get to the Pokemon League, we'd have to get the 8-bit gym badges normally. But we can take a very precise route through this void in order to get to the League instead. And I say it's very precise because it involves very particular timing cues. If you're a little off with this path that I'm doing right now, you can pretty easily get stuck and soft lock yourself. But I accounted for that in the estimate, and if I do get stuck, I have a backup save. So we have basically backups upon backups for any possible points in the run where you can soft lock. So even though this run is kind of risky, it's actually pretty safe for a marathon, because there's lots of things you can do to lots of backups you can employ for the riskier strats in this run, like this void walk. It's kind of funny actually, because in the when ILCA, who's the company that made this, that was making this game, they said they wanted to make as faithful of a remake as possible. They went a little far with that by including the void as well. Takes being a faithful remake to a whole new level, I'd say. So yeah, this void walk is, like I said, it's a little risky, but it is consistent. Because while the timing cues are pretty particular, I have them memorized and I usually get them most of the time. And again, if I do soft lock, I have a backup save. This angle right here that I'm trying to hit is a little particular, but should be okay. We'll see in a moment anyway if I soft lock or not. So I'm going to walk right here until I bonk on a wall. That's the indication that I've reached the league. And I'm going to do some movement to get inside the league once I get there. That looked iffy, but we'll see if I got it. The tricky thing with that instance of the out of bounds is I had the music playing from the rival cutscene where he talks to you, so I couldn't quite hear the audio cue. I was listening for an audio cue there where I listened for the trainer walking on the grass. If I hear the trainer walking on the grass there as soon as I get into the little collision box where the league is, I know that I've made it to my destination. I couldn't quite hear it though because of the music blaring. So I basically have to hope that I got it, and if I didn't get it, then I'll load the backup. Ooh, I made it through some miracle. Okay. We got it. That's good. So we made it to the league. We don't have to fight any of the 8 gym leaders, and we don't have to fight our rival at all. So I'm going to do another trick here. It involves some more menu storage. It's going to be like the very first trick that we did, where I do 2 instances of menu storage. But I'm going to cancel it off of this escalator right here. And oh, there we go. And like with the trick at the beginning with the door, it's a very particular timing. But I got it first try there because I have a pretty consistent cue for that. You basically want to cancel out of the menus you had stored up from storage there as soon as it starts fading to black there in the animation of the escalator. That clips you through the escalator, which lets you go out of bounds. And I went behind this door because in front of that door is the trigger that would start a fight with our rival, but we can't fight our rival because we only have a level 5 Turtwig to our name right now. So we would get destroyed, and we have to go behind this door instead. I saved and exited there because behind that door is a collision box, and by saving and exiting, you clip yourself into that collision box. So you can go behind that door and hit the load zone. So I'm going to do another menu stack here. It's going to be a key item menu followed by a regular menu. And then another key item. Alright, so a few things just happened there. What I did was I did that menu stack I just described. Key item, regular menu, key item. I used the first key item as I went through the door to the Elite Four members' room there, which is around a 3-frame window. That stores the animation of me entering the Elite Four members' room. And then I canceled out of the regular menu, which let me enter, which gave me control so I could move. And then once I get to the top of the room here, I use the second key item. That unfroze the world so that the animation that I had held earlier, the door entrance animation, it let that play out. But because I was at the top of the room when it played, that clipped me through the wall and out of bounds. So I can sneak my way behind the door to the Elite Four members' room at the exit. And hit the load zone that way. So I can skip fighting these Elite Four members here. I'm going to do that a couple more times here. As I said just a second ago, getting the initial storage of the entrance animation, it's very tight. It's around the 3-frame window. And in a normal run of this, you'd have to do all 4 of these, since there's 4 Elite Four members, all in a row without saving. And like I said, it's a 3-frame window. You have to do 4 of them in a row, so it's very tight. But as you can see here, and I'll be doing this on the potential marathon run as well, you can save before each one of these Elite Four member skips. So doing them is actually not too bad for a marathon setting. Alright, so we're going to do a similar menu storage setup with Cynthia here at the end of the run. It's going to be a similar setup, but it's going to work a little differently than the Elite Four member skips. So I'll do storage there, back out through a few of these menus. Key item, storage, go back to the summary, storage. Now I'll back out all the way here to the Pokemon selection, and then pull up another key item, just like that. So I'm going to, as soon as the game fades from black here, use the first key item. Good. Got it first try. So I canceled out of the cutscene there by using the first key item, which gave me control during the cutscene. And then I did some blind movement to get behind Cynthia and onto the elevator, so we end up skipping her fight. And then I used the second key item there to cancel out of some cutscenes that would normally play in the Hall of Fame here. So we can just completely skip all the Elite Four related content and just go straight to the Hall of Fame. There actually is an older strat for that where we'd use Pokedolls to instantly win those fights. But that's long gone out of the route by now. Alright, so time is going to be when the game fades to black there after the Hall of Fame sequence is done. I split it a little late there, but that's fine. That was like a 16:57, which is a very, very good, actually. My PB in this category is a 15:43 right now. It has potential to go around 6 to 10 seconds slower than that, and potentially even more. Because ever since December or so, I've been grinding out this category to get a really good time in it. And right now I'm around 5th place on the leaderboards. Just about. Yeah. And the glitches in general with this game, as I'm sure you saw with this run, are very absurd and very fun to showcase. And I think it would be a really good showcase to GDQ. I think it would definitely be a crowd favorite, because this game, and this run in particular, it blew the heck up when this game was new. So many big YouTubers covered this speed run when the game was fresh, just spreading the word in a way about how nuts this run is. And given all the press that this run has gotten in the past, and how much press it continues to get to this day, I think it would just be a really good run to showcase at GDQ. Yeah, that's my submission for Shining Pearl. Like I said, it's a really just nuts run with a lot of really absurd and fun glitches that I think would be good to show off, and I hope you consider my run. Thank you for watching.